Hey y'all, welcome to another edition of Cajun Classic Cars TV. You know, we always have a special guest from somewhere in the Bayou State. So today we've got me. Well, thanks me. I'm going to be very happy to tell the folks about our 1965 Ford Thunderbird. So stay tuned. Thanks again, me. We'll tell you the backstory about this awesome car, kind of a daily driver, at least every couple of days driver, and how we acquired this great old T-Bird. So hang on, it's another exciting show on Cajun Classic Cars TV.
Your cars are the stars. Cajun Classic Cars TV.
For the next few minutes, let's step into the private world of Thunderbird. Thunderbird, unique in all the world. Thunderbird, renowned trendsetter in styling, innovator of automotive design, performance, and comfort. Yes, Thunderbird once again attains new levels of leadership with an outstanding 65 entry, featuring fresh new evidence of its total dedication to the desires, comfort, and convenience of those who choose to Thunderbird instead of merely to drive. And now, for the first time, Thunderbird also offers as standard equipment the more precise command of front disc brakes. In truth, the unique combination of ride, power, handling, and silence in Thunderbird's new look of total performance for 65 very closely approximates the feeling of flight.
So a little bit of background on our 1965 Ford Thunderbird. Spent some time up in Alaska, the last frontier, the 49th state. And this car was on sale on Facebook or Craigslist or something like that. And we had already had a couple of classic cars, but you know how classic car people are. You never have enough. And so we drove from Wasilla, where we lived, to Anchorage. And a young couple had this car. And they bought it from an elderly couple. I guess they kind of felt bad for them or whatever. And so they bought it, but they put it under a tarp and never really did anything with it. And they moved on to work on an old Chevy Nova. So this kind of remained under the tarp, and we decided to go ahead and get it. I think we paid, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 for it. Boy, the steering on that thing was so bad that, on this thing was so bad that, you know, it felt like it was constantly wanting to make a right turn. So, you know, I adjusted the front end a little bit with the help from a mechanic, and we've been doing a little bit at a time. This car has great bones and great potential. So what we're going to show you is kind of where we are in it and explain some of the things we've done, and then kind of what we plan on doing, specifically painting and body work and some other adjustments and accoutrement and that sort of thing. So let's kind of walk around and show you our 1965 Ford Thunderbird from Alaska. I decided to do a little decaling here and get this really Ford Thunderbird emblem here, the Phoenix emblem. That's kind of the color scheme we're looking at already. You'll see the inside in a little bit, and so that's kind of a theme we're going with. Kind of showing you down the sides here. You'll see that there's a little bit of a handmade sort of paint job. I let my daughter, who's now 22, out of quite a few years back, I let her kind of play around with it, and she used some paint and did that. Made Daddy some stripings on it, but that's going to be painted over once this car gets its final color. And what we're thinking about for the final color is the bottom part here. The most of the body is going to be blue, and I found out from a friend of mine who we're going to be filming here soon with his 65 convertible. I'm going to steal his color. It's called Brittany Blue Code Q, which is so it's a good thing for us to have a starting place on that. But Brittany Blue, and allegedly that was an original color in Ford, and you Ford guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong. Original or not, it don't matter, because that's what we were going to go for, because we find it beautiful. But so the body will be Brittany Blue, and the top will stay white. Of course, we're going to do a new paint job on the top. You know, I love the fact that as we walk around here, the emblems are still in pretty good shape. you know, the Phoenix right here. Here on the back, we've got the Thunderbird in cursive. And those things remained pretty good intact. But, you know, despite the fact that it's kind of a, you know, it's a 60-year-old car, it's got pretty good shape. I mean, pretty good straight lines. I mean, it's not dented or anything like that. Some people have done some not so good Bondo work, which we'll show you a little bit of that, but we'll fix all of that. And of course, rust from it being an Alaska car, because they salt the roads when it snows, and that's not very good for cars. And the rust protection on a 60-year-old car was not very good. So there's going to be some quarter panel work, but for the most part, the car's not falling apart. There's not a lot of you know, rust in really critical places. One of the things, though, that I could not stand on the car was these wheels. And I have no idea at all what these wheels were at first. We tried to find a mark on it, could not find out where it came from. So we went ahead and decided to get a brand new set of rims from BB Wheels with the Mooney rims. Remember those guys? Well, put it on there, and even though they were custom made for it, it never worked. It kept hitting the calipers, kept hitting all kind of other things. The hubs didn't quite work right. So I went back to the original rims that were on it when I got it. And my idea was to search for original Ford rims from back in the day and put the hubcaps on it. We've actually got the original 4 hubcaps in great shape. Problem with that is, I don't know whether or not you guys have looked, but to find the original old rims from back in the day, they're twice as expensive as if you get custom wheels. You can't find them. And when I was a kid, Mom and Dad used them as planters in the yard, or we used them as some weight for something, or to hold down something, or to wheel a basketball pole in it. It was crazy. But anyway, here's what we've done with the wheels. We took what was the ugly rims, had no center cap or anything like that, and I ordered online, I think from Amazon, these spinners. And then I got some custom decals made, some raised plastic decals made with the Thunderbird logo on there. And I think they've come out pretty good. Now, one of the things that I had to contend with is this is a 5-lug, but those rims came with 10 holes. So how do you cover it? So we found these hole covers that are used for electrical boxes and other things at the hardware store, and bought enough to cover 5 on each wheel, $1.50 a piece. And I think it turned out pretty good, considering the disaster we started off with. And this is all original glass. Really not even a ding to come, to be honest with you. Of course, I could have cleaned it before I showed you on video. But all original glass on it, in pretty good shape. There's our roof, which is going to remain white. I love these wings on it. You see a little bit more of my daughter's little paint job from when she was younger. We've changed it to LED lights, and as always, constantly dealing with grounding issues for being a 60-year-old Ford, but slowly but surely working those out. Scoop is one of my favorite things on this hood. There's your key cover for the trunk. And one of the things I love about these old cars is how tough this sounds. I mean, that just is tough. Well, the power plant for this Thunderbird is a Ford 390 FE, a beast of a motor that could take a beating. Except, unfortunately, the original one in here took a beating when somebody did a valve job and left parts in it. Not me, previous owners. So we had to get another crate engine and put it in here, and it took a little while, and well, here's what the result is, and it certainly gives us enough power to cruise around in. How about we show you a little bit of the inside. So I got to tell you, the inside, if the outside is a 7, this inside is an 8, and I know I'm probably giving myself too much credit, giving the car too much credit, but I got to tell you, it is in really gosh darn good shape. There's no rips in the seats. The back seat upholstery is probably a little bit loose, but there's not much going on back there. Nice little center console there. And like I say, no rips in the seats. Headliner's got some unusual, I mean, it's pretty tight, but it's got some unusual holes. I think that might have been for a dome light. That makes sense, but I can't figure out what people were trying to do over there. But pretty good. Door panel's pretty good. Let me tell you a little bit about the carpet, what we did on that. This is brand new carpet. We got that from factoryinteriors.com. And they custom give you the color, and so we wanted something pretty close, but also something that would work for the aforementioned Brittany Blue that we're going to be doing on it pretty soon. So we'll show you some shots of what it looks like now. These are the original floor mats, and I've got them cleaned the best I could. I'm sure I could definitely do more. Got what I call the airline seat belts in it. The back didn't have seat belts when I got it, and the kids wanted to go to Sonic, so I went to AutoZone and I put back seat belts. So it's not authentic seat belts, but when the kids want to go to Sonic and start riding in a 1965 car, you go and do it. So I did all the hole drilling and everything else. So here's a before picture of the carpet. Had to take the seats out, of course. Oh gosh, and it was just a mess. I don't know what they did, household carpet or whatever. They didn't really secure it very well. Let's just say it was not very good. Matter of fact, one time, the carpet was so bad that they got stuck under the accelerator and nearly ran into my garage door. I broke a cotter pin. As a matter of fact, pushing it pushed it down so hard. Let's take a look at before and after for the carpet. This is after we just unboxed it. I've got help from my four-legged friends here. At least they thought they were helping. And this is the ugly mess that was the carpet prior to me taking everything out. Well, the seats were already out by this point. And then this is the work in progress. After cleanup, we did a little rust remediation before we put the new carpet in, by the way. And then here's a picture of with the mat, without the mat, in the back there. And then on the side there, I think it came out pretty darn good. With some extra parts that I got when we got the car, we were able to sort of piece doors together best we could. But I think they came together pretty nicely. Of course, you got my air conditioner there. There you go. Works fairly well in the Louisiana heat. One of the things that surprises me is how nice this dash is. I mean, not a crack on it, which is very rare. And this is the original dash. Of course, it's got the swing-away steering wheel, which makes it easier for a chunky guy like me. One of the things my mechanic did when he was recently doing the motor is, I don't like where he mounted this this temperature gauge. So I've got to get up underneath the dash and I've got to extend the cable. It's got to be tied up in there somewhere, but with all the other work, I just haven't had time to do it. And I'm eventually mount that over here. But boy, I tell you what, I love this dash. At night, this lights up red, and I feel like I'm in a rocket ship. And these gauges, which some work, some don't, I'll tell you which ones do and don't here in a little bit, kind of, again, look like sort of rocket. So our amperage gauge does work. Temperature gauge doesn't, which is why we have that one. Fuel gauge doesn't, but I have figured we're getting about 11 miles a gallon by adding and subtracting every time I stop at a gas station. And oil gauge works, which is nice and handy. This light switch we're going to be fixing in a little bit now that we put on new lights. We finally narrowed down that the grounding problem is here. Here's our shifter. which, by the way, we did about a $4,000 work on the transmission. Third gear band had busted and had to take it back because it busted again. And thank goodness for 2-year warranties. 98,000 miles and some change. That is original. It has not turned over. Well, let me be fair. It never turned over on the old engine, and now there's, well, we talked about there being a new-ish engine in it. Again, more things that remind me of rockets. Here's your vents, which still open pretty good. Typical of a 1960s clock. Not working, but I'm going to persevere and try to do that. This map light is pretty neat. You see it's coming on there. Still works, believe it or not. That is my newfangled microphone for my calls, for my telephone. Speaking of that, this is one of those retro radios. A Father's Day gift from my wife a couple of years ago. And when we finally got the car back from a mechanic that had been working on it for quite a while, I installed that. So we've got the little Ford decal there. It's Bluetooth, and so it's pretty nice. Of course, a little drink holder there held on by Velcro. And the not needed ashtray. Oh, speaking of the radio, I mounted the speakers and the riser there for the back seats. It probably is not everybody's cup of tea, but I thought it was neat, and it gives the sound close enough to us. And so I did that. Okay, let's go for a ride. All right, so now we're going to show you how we start this sucker. We had been having a lot of problems with ignition. No matter how many ignition switches we put in, it just kept wanting to, and again, I think it's a grounding issue. The starter just kept wanting to run, and we would end up burning up starters. So my mechanic had decided to put an external switch, which he ended up putting on a wrong amperage. So I bought a new amperage one. So let me show you how we're starting now. And so we turn on the key, and then look at this in the console. An engine start switch. But she really runs pretty good, pretty smooth. And so that's how we started. I call it my superhero switch. So, because you'll pull the cover up, and you got a secret spy switch. I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm such a geek. She will cruise like a ship on smooth seas, for sure, despite front end work we had to do when we first got it. Yeah, this thing wanted to constantly turn right all the time. I truly love driving this Thunderbird. I've had dozens of other cars, but there is just something about this big giant ride that I love. And it's not a car like a Mustang or a Corvette or a Chevelle or anything that you see a lot of them at car shows. I mean, occasionally you do, especially the 1950s ones, which, by the way, we're going to be featuring on future episodes. But this, you know, you don't see a lot of the 65 ones, that's for sure. And so we're really proud to have it. When you slow down, she's got a little bit of a noise in the right wheel. It's something as it rotates, and you got to get up under there and figure it out. Don't know whether or not we've got a something that needs to be greased or whether or not something's rubbing, but sooner than later we're going to get to that. I love those turn indicators at the end of that long hood. Well, we had fun, me showing off our 1965 Ford Thunderbird. It was great to be a guest on my show, or your show. Hey, you guys, our content's brought to you in part by Vicari Auction, as well as Goodwood, hardwareandoutdoors.com, and from folks like you. Support us on our GoFundMe account to keep the videos going, and check us out at CajunClassicCarsTV.com. See you on the road.